Hello everyone, and welcome to my reading of Fate Prototype Fragments of Sky Silver. So this is the prequel to Fate Prototype, which is a work that doesn't fully exist, but we have the OVA and we sort of know what comes kind of in it. But this is like an actual full story. Now this is currently also getting a manga, and who knows, maybe one day this could also get an anime. I don't think so with Strange Fake getting its right now, but we'll have to see. Now, I did actually read this chapter a long time ago, mostly as a joke in the voice of Funky Kong. This will be different because the translation has been redone, and it'll be a little bit different now. So we're going to head on in and read some today. I don't know how much we're going to read, but now that we know the characters and the world a bit more, things are going to go a bit better. Right? We're going to have a bit more fun. So this is the fan translation. There is no official translation. If there was, I would absolutely buy it. But there isn't. So here we are. So let us read from Volume 1 today here. So let's take a look. Just gotta adjust my neck. There we go. So, Servant Saber, a holy sword wielder who values virtue and believes in justice. He, the legendary king of knights, had once fought alongside the Knights of the Round Table for the future of his homeland, Britain. Unlike the second time, in the year 1999, okay, so that's then prototype, the wish he desired from the Grail in the Holy Grail War of the year 1991 was the salvation of his homeland. Although he feels uneasy about the principles of his master, Sajo Manaka, who seemed to innocently enjoy the battle to the death between the seven masters and their warriors, for the sake of his homeland and to fulfill his duty as a king, the Blue and Silver Knight will tread the warpath however many times need be. Yeah. So it's Arthur, right? Like actual male Arthur. Yeah, we read a lot of this in the material book there. I'm noticing he's kind of got his own Zero suit, huh? As in, like, suit from Zero, not, like, the Metroid one. Got some art here. Alright, Sajo Manaka here. A girl who dances in the Holy Grail War for the sake of love. Omnipotence as a girl. Overflowing with innate talent, she's able to freely use all forms of magecraft. She joins the Holy Grail War of 1991 as a representative, okay, of the prestigious Magus household Sajo. So she is like a child prodigy who has obtained like really good. Like she can do it all. So, however, to her, the battle to the death is nothing more than shining, colorful days of love meant to grant her beloved's wish. Regardless of who she faces, be it master or servant, she will confront them with a smile. So she's always out there smiling, huh? We got Manaka's younger sister, Ayaka, right? We did learn about her a bit. She attends Suginami's elementary school close to her home residence. Due to her Magus training from her father, her thoughts are a bit more mature compared to her classmates. However, she still exhibits behaviors that reflect her young age. Well, she admires her genius sister, whom she doesn't converse much with. She also bears an inferiority complex. She likes her fried eggs cooked on both sides. So she uses watashi, and in 1999 she uses atashi occasionally. Okay, so then this is the dad. Okay. Sajo Hiroki. Okay. The head of the Sajo family in 1991. He seeks the Holy Grail in order to achieve the greatest ambition of many magi of the millennium, to arrive at the root. Thus, he placed his hopes on Manaka's natural talent. Although he was not chosen to be a master, he participates in the Holy Grail War as Manaka's collaborator. He is Manaka and Ayaka's father while also serving as their teacher in magecraft. Though there never was a moment where Manaka truly needed a teacher. Oh, she's like actually gifted. Okay. Oh, yo, you look so much cooler here actually with the hood. That's awesome. The 7th ranked servant assassin, an assassin who wears a skull mask. She once served under the founder of a group of religious assassins, the Old Man of the Mountain. In life, she was known under the alias Hassan of Serenity, a master of poison killings. Having lost her master when she was summoned as a servant in the year 1991, she began to wander the darkness of Tokyo's night, where she encountered Manaka. She was overwhelmed, fascinated by the girl who would neither die nor show anguish when she touched her. Oh, interesting. The 4th ranked Lancer Servant, female. Okay, I have a good idea on who this is. She was ordered by her master through command seal to skirmish with each servant a minimum of once and to drink a certain elixir when facing the one who seemed to be most formidable. Crossing blades with Saber, whom she was certain was the strongest servant, she reluctantly drank the elixir. Oh, interesting. 3rd ranked servant Archer. An outstanding archer. I think I also know who this is. An outstanding archer. During his brief engagement with Saber at Mount Okutama, he was praised by Saber as equal to Sir Tristan of the Knights of the Round Table. He had performed a long-distance attack that could be called a special move in itself, but the move did not rely on his noble phantasm. While he confronted Saber at Mount Okutama at that time, his master was already dead? Interesting. Alright, here we are. Little Lady Arc. That's what we're in right now. Cute art. There is a kind of fear I get from Manaka, though. I'm a little uncomfortable by her. Alright. So, Little Lady Arc, Act 1. The omnipotent girl has fallen in love. Thou art a radiant person, sincere, proud, and kind. That smile of his sparkles softly, like the shining morning sun. You who art kind believe in justice and love's goodness. Despite hating conflict, you're stronger than anyone if you pick up your sword for a moment. Your shining sword removes and eliminates those who become the evil, the wicked in every corner of the world. You're a prince from a fairy tale. In reality, there are no princes. There is no meaning even in looking for them, because reality is much more cruel and harsh. We were raised while being told as such, by our parents, by our teachers, or perhaps by the world itself. I think I can zoom in a little bit more. I'm just looking here. Yeah, there we go. Look at how cruel it is, at how harsh it is. Black is the color which permeates this world. Its ashen color persists to the utmost. There are no princes, or white horses either. There are no such thing as dazzling fairy tales anywhere. But we knew it. My prince is surely somewhere in this world. That's right, we knew it. If there is something like a fairy tale-like event, it is certainly somewhere in this world. Yeah, we know. The brilliant, you are there in this world. You who art my destiny is there in this world. We were separated by time, sometimes brushing each other in time, but someday we'll snuggle up closely together, while tearing apart the darkness of the world, clad in blue and silver, with your shining sword that is more radiant than anything in hand. You will come to me here. Oh hey, it's the words that we saw from before. There raise not the dead. There cannot recover lost things, never again. Even the greatest miracle can affect only the living. This part's new. In the final days, salvation can be found once more. The holy city of Jerusalem shall reappear. Is this okay? Is this a quote from something? I'm gonna Google this. There raise not the dead. I typoed the whole thing. I was one letter off the whole time. There raise not the dead. I'm Googling it. Oh! Wait, I typed it in and I get Corinthians 1:15? Okay. I'm trying to let me put it in quotes because that doesn't look correct actually. There raise not the dead. Okay, all I get is Fate prototype stuff. So never mind. This is original. I thought because when the holy city of Jerusalem appeared, I'm like, is this a Bible quote that I missed? But no, it seems not. From yonder distant waves, 7 heads and 10 crowns shall appear. O'er you who art sinful, thy name is the enemy. Thy heart is of greed. Thy praises shall morph into blasphemy and rage over the earth. In the foundation of a universal miracle, there is no proof of our lost Lord's love, for it is a paradox here. The Holy Grail War. It is a bloody conflict, where we Magi will wager our lives for the sake of a wish. 7 servants and 7 Magi who obtained the rank of an angel. Heroic spirits who once met an untimely death will revive into the modern world by temporarily obtaining vessels for their souls called servants, gathering together in one place alongside the Magi who are to be their masters. They will kill each other until one servant remains at the end, unfolding into a brutal battle that will surpass human intellect. Magi, servants, for the sake of having their wishes granted together. When it is the year 1999 AD, the end of the old millennium, a new Holy Grail War will start here in Tokyo, a promised land at the far end of the East. And now, a single servant stands before my eyes. He who has green eyes. He who wears silver armor. The first-ranked servant who swore to fight together with me in this Holy Grail War, nestles close to me, a master of the lowest of the 7 ranks, princes. You are a knight who said that you'll protect me. Saber. To the me of that time seemed to be too tall. Without realizing it, I'm looking at your figure as if it were 8 years ago. 8 years ago. At that time, you were probably fighting in a place unknown to me, assuredly by my older sister's side. And yet, there were a lot of things that I didn't know about. About you, about my papa, about what this thing called the Holy Grail War specifically meant to you, or what my older sister had done back then. My older sister, Big Sis Manaka, a person who'd shone more than anyone else, a person who participated in the Holy Grail War 8 years ago together with you. Although there are a lot of things that I don't even remember even now, as I at that time was still young, even so there are things that I surely do remember. That's right, for example, I have always about my big sister. The light of the dazzling sun was flowing in from a gap in the closed curtains. The voices of the songbirds were telling the time as they perched on the branches of every tree immediately beyond the window. Signs of the morning. Disappearing somewhere, like a lie, the coldness and darkness of the night. The day which should have been tomorrow, just before she had slept, had come in the form of today. Okay, how am I going to do this? Do I just say the name? I guess I can just say the name. Ayaka. Ugh. Still rubbing her somewhat heavy eyelids, Ayaka Sajo faintly woke up in her soft bed. The light of the sun, the voices of the songbirds. Although she didn't hate the signs of the mornings, which ought to be comfortable and invigorating, she couldn't become fond of the arrival of the morning itself too much. Ayaka, it's already morning. Shifting her own body temperature, she didn't deny that she liked the comfortable sensation of her bed, which kept its warmth to just the right temperature. Speaking of preferences in a category of fondness, though she preferred to keep sleeping, scattering her body about while feeling its warmth like this. Ayaka, the alarm clock hasn't rung yet. Holding some expectations, she reached out for the digital clock placed at her bedside while covering her head with her blanket. The cold air was touching her right hand as it came out. If she had to say which one of these sensations she'd prefer, then she liked this one more. However, cold things are still cold. We're getting into that right away, huh? Archers are really made up of archers. People die when they're killed, and now cold things are still cold. She immediately drew the clock back into her blanket. It was a reasonably high-quality clock, which displayed the days, dates, and the AD. It was an item which had been bought and given to her for her birthday last year. Although she wanted a much cuter one, she had already been using this clock for more than a year, and she couldn't be bothered to complain about it to her papa. 1991. She could always confirm the time by unconsciously giving a fleeting glance to the AD display. 6:14 a.m. 6:14 a.m. If she was a girl her age, then surely at this time, most people would certainly go back to sleep again. However, because Ayaka's lifestyle was somewhat different from your typical elementary school girls, she decided to turn off the alarm clock while grumbling, perfect, making a slightly troubled face as she laid her eyes onto the digital display. The set time on the alarm clock was 6:15 a.m. Thus, perfect. She couldn't stay in bed any more than this. Squirming, she crawled her way out of bed. Squirming, she took off her pajamas. As expected, the morning air was still cold. Cold. Picking up the change of clothes that had been folded up properly and placed on the top of her desk chair before she had gone to sleep last night, she changed a bit more quickly than the time it took her to remove them. Since then, had she been able to change her clothes by herself? She had been able to do it since she moved up to elementary school at least. If she had said it conversely, then she didn't remember when she was made to change clothes by someone. Whether she had been made to by her mum or her papa, she wouldn't say. Though she thought it probably wasn't her papa. She only believed that it was sort of strange, despite not remembering it. Ayaka. Okay. Having finished changing her clothes, she stood in front of the full-length mirror there beside the wardrobe. She had properly changed her clothes. Alright. This bright red coat was Ayaka's favorite. She thought the red buttons were cute and a bit fashionable. While checking the clock hanging on the wall, she combed her hair quickly with a comb, immediately finishing it, because her hair wasn't that long. It's okay. She'll make it in time. Her feelings were racing, though, because it'd be down to the wire. I've got to get up Ayaka, got to get up much earlier if I want to do the cooking. Although she was capable of changing clothes by herself, she couldn't cook yet. It was a job left up to her papa. Her papa did most of the chores basically by himself. Granted, there were days where a helper would come in occasionally to help, but at the end of the day, her papa was the one who managed the huge Sajo family estate, which had a reasonable number of rooms that couldn't be entered. If it was on her papa's instructions, though, then Ayaka could also help with the housework. Ayaka. Papa should already be up by now. Her papa must have stayed up late again last night, although he was surely the one preparing breakfast again this morning. Ayaka basically couldn't help him with it. At the very least, she could help him with setting the table, but Ayaka had other stuff to do in the morning hours, an established daily routine. In other words, her black magic training, studying, and practice. The air in the hallway was much colder than the inside of her room. The breath which she exhaled was also white. While warming both hands with her breath, she started heading towards the bathroom. Placing the footstool that her papa had made for her own use, she stood on top of it, washing her face with enough cold water that she couldn't be bothered somewhat by the air. The fluffy, characterized morning sensation was instantly fading away. Clearing her mind up, the trace of slept also went somewhere else. Nodding a yeah, she wiped her damp face with her own usable towel. Looking into the mirror, she was now thinking that she should have held her bangs back with a pin, having considerably soaked her bangs. To the version of herself beyond the mirror, she was making an apparently troubled face. Ayaka. Please don't make strange faces, Ayaka. Nodding, yet another yeah. She returned to the hallway. Just then, she finally noticed one thing. Huh? Is there some kind of a nice smell? Is it the breakfast from somewhere in the house or in this neighborhood? Although it wouldn't be strange if it was the smell of bacon and eggs, as it was a typical item on the Sajo family's daily morning menu, although she felt the smell wafting in the air was similar to the smell of bacon, it was more similar to the smell of another dish. But there's no way she'd know it because she hadn't studied it and she wasn't allowed to cook. While thinking in the corner of her mind, what is it, she proceeded straight through the corridor. Walking towards the other end of the hallway, she turned. Ayaka was turning towards the garden. Having exited the washroom, she opened a door that was past where she had walked much earlier through the hallway and went outside. Opening the glass door at the other end, she proceeded further into the passageway. Finally, arriving. Even if she were to say to a classmate that her house was big, was it because she had lived in the house for so long? But although there were many times where... Wait, what? Even if she were to say to a classmate that her house was big, was it because she had lived in this house for too long? But although there were many times where she didn't come with such liveliness, she felt it was so whenever she came to a garden like this. That is a slightly awkward sentence. Kind of a run-on. Or did she mean that it was big and spacious? But she didn't hate it. Even if she felt like it was a long distance to walk. Even if she felt the weight of her motivation towards her daily routine. She didn't hate them in itself because she should come here. It wasn't a garden or even a park. Garden. Lush green trees, flowers, dozens of a variety of plants. Additionally, there were several pigeons. Gathering at her feet, several of them flew straight at her, recognizing Ayaka's appearance. Since she felt that calling it a garden was too grandiose and felt that many of the plants could be called houseplants, Ayaka thought calling it garden suited it, after all. Although she had always asked why is it called garden since way back when, but her papa hadn't particularly given her an answer. He just vaguely nodded with approval. So Ayaka decided to willfully think like this. If it wasn't her papa who named this place garden, then surely her mum had named it. If she could accurately classify it, then it was definitely a greenhouse. Even now, the glass ceilings and walls was taking in a lot of the morning's sunlight. Whether it was because it was a precious countenance against acid rain or her papa was incredible, although her school teacher had said so when she came over for a home visit, she didn't know whether it was really a reason like that. In the first place, whether it was really her papa who somehow created garden. Good morning, said Ayaka. Not morning, but good morning. Making sure to not notice the pigeons that were cuddling up to her, she greeted her private place, which had been built out of wood, and didn't have walls made out of glass nearby. Nearby was a mountain of books and medicine bottles that were better off not bathing in the sunlight. It was a place like her dad's study, a place that was sort of a morning study spot for Ayaka. Although... Ayaka. Huh? She tilted her head. Her papa should be here at this time, like always. From 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m., for 1 hour before breakfast, she'd study black magic from her papa. It was Ayaka's daily routine. And yet, no one was here. Papa, said Ayaka. He might have been somewhere in the garden, only there was no one there. Gently, she tried to call out to him. She tried to wait for 1 second, 2 seconds. Even so, there was no reply. Only some pigeons warbling at her feet instead. Not you guys, said Ayaka. Trying to think about it. Was today a day where Papa couldn't see her to her black magic studies? Although it didn't change what she had to do, she had to do it even so. Her training, which was her daily routine, basically didn't exist on mornings where it was okay to do nothing, and they had even been on her papa's orders at the same time. At least, there's no reason for her to get upset with him for having forgotten to tell her beforehand. Therefore, he might have said something about it this morning or the last night, perhaps. Now that she mentioned it, Ayaka, something from here on out is beginning, said Ayaka. It's beginning. We have to participate in it. It's the Sajo family's dearest wish. No, it's necessary to achieve the great ambition for us, Magi. I've said it before. Don't call out to the pigeons, Ayaka. A voice that she had gotten used to hearing. Immediately, she turned around the direction of the voice. Immediately close to the glass doors at Garden's entryway was the tall figure of her papa. Due to the sparkling sunlight and having shadows cast over her face, looking up, Ayaka couldn't tell his expression. Papa. Don't call out to the sacrifices. Don't speak to them. We must never sympathize with the sacrifices. Sympathy makes black mages waver, and leads them into doubt and hesitation. I shouldn't have to countlessly instruct you on this. Yes. Ayaka nodded while bowing her head. As one would expect, she remembered him telling her this on several occasions. Even though she was trying not to be aware of them, she had called out to the pigeons at her feet just then. The pigeons who were even now becoming emotionally attached to her like this. It had only been several of them when she entered the garden, but already close to 10 of them were gathering. Hiroki. Humans and pigeons cannot exchange words, so don't mix with them. Originally, they weren't creatures who could gain sympathy, but I'm sure you who are young could probably feel it for them even now. This is for your own sake, Ayaka. He told her this on numerous occasions. He told her, and yet he would tell her every morning. Ayaka herself was thinking that she wanted to live up to her dad's expectations. However, they keep getting attached to her like this no matter what she did. Additionally, since she could only obey the instructions that her papa gave her, it was a fact that she was also feeling opposed to this. You cannot separate sacrifice and black magic. That's supposed to be not back magic, black magic. The pain of the sacrifice is the source of the power for the black arts. She'd also heard this several times now. She'd heard it every morning. Nonetheless, forgetful Ayaka still wouldn't forget it. I'll do my best, mumbling a bit, although it was unreasonable for her to raise her downward head. At the edge of her still down gaze were the figures of the white pigeons who were pecking at the tips of her sandals. Well, I don't mind this morning. You can go to the dining room now. Huh? She didn't know what to say. In spite of never being allowed to leave garden until mealtime every morning, Ayaka finally raised her face. Her papa wasn't facing her. His gaze was more towards her mum's room. Where was he looking? In that moment, she didn't know. If he was looking in that direction, then perhaps the dining room. It's breakfast. You can keep Manaka company this morning. Together they returned to the hallway from which she came from by herself. Ayaka couldn't ask why. Since her papa's orders were absolute, she just nodded and said okay. She wasn't concerned with him scolding her that her response should be yes. The question of why, which she just couldn't ask, spread throughout Ayaka's head, becoming a huge whirlpool which went around and around. Staring, she was looking up fixatedly at her papa's back, who was walking a bit ahead of her. Will she be able to say what do you mean? Is she unable to say it? Her impression of her papa was one of a person who didn't talk very much except when it concerned magic. For example, he couldn't even answer if she was asking about her mum, or even about the origins of garden as well. At such times, he could just vaguely nod as expected. And yet, it's Manaka. Her papa strangely opened his mouth, without looking over her. About breakfast. Sorry, can you please keep her company? Big sister? She'll probably prefer you over me. Huh? Not really understanding the implication of what her papa was saying, Ayaka tilted her head. Breakfast time was always with her papa and older sister, and Ayaka's family spent it with the three of them together, so it wasn't strange for him to say that her big sister was in the dining room. However, thinking that time was passing by too quickly, perhaps it's still immediately past 6:30 a.m. Is Big Sis hungry? As she said it, Ayaka thought something was off. Her big sister. Her older sister, who was 6 years older than Ayaka, Manaka Sajo. Her big sister's existence was special to Ayaka. She couldn't think to say to her big sister something like, "You're an ordinary child," or "I want breakfast to hurry up." She won't say it. She even held a belief in her heart that she would never say it. That's why she didn't understand the implication of her papa's words. It seems she wants you to cook. Cook? On countless occasions, she had seen her big sister cooking. However, it can't be said that she only proceeded to do so by herself whenever her papa just couldn't take the time to do it, being too busy. Although her papa's way of speaking now appeared to be saying that her big sister had desired this for herself, that she told him that she willingly wanted to do this. Big sister said that? That's right. I see. Ayaka nodded meekly. Although she thought it was strange and wondering why that was, surely, it was because her big sister had said so. So naturally she thought, now I can show her that I can cook perfectly. After all, after all, Big Sis is such an amazing person. She's pretty and smart, and oh yeah, cute. A person who can do anything. Ayaka, will you take the plates? And the toast too? Yes, big sister. Ah, no, not that one. Since it's for the sunny side up fried eggs and bacon, I prefer the smaller ones. See, you must separate them beforehand. All that's left is, cut the toast thinly, not thickly. Uh, okay. See, even now she's like this. Prompt, even in the kitchen. But she's graceful, very graceful. Although there were countless times where my big sister had stood in the kitchen instead of Dad, it feels different now. I feel like she's preparing it because she needs to. Efficiently, skillfully. In this way, like now, it didn't feel like she's prompt like a cook, and it didn't feel like she was becoming as beautiful as Mum was, which had come out in conversation. It's completely different from that time before. Although that time was also amazing, what is it, I wonder? Even words that had the same amazing. What did I mean by that? Her disposition? I think those kinds of things are different. See, there are a number of items on the menu. I could tell it's different just by looking at it. That time before, we had milk, salad, and bacon and eggs on toast. But now there was bacon and eggs on toast, salad, milk, kidney pie, cut codfish and fried potatoes, cheese and ham, porridge and scones, black tea, and then there were plums and sliced peaches for desserts. There's so much of it that I couldn't eat it all. Quickly doing this and that, Big Sis was making it all so accurately. Even her white fingertips, which were holding a kitchen knife, seemed to be making me sigh just by looking at it. Even though we only have a 6-year difference between us, why was she so... This person was so beautiful. Although I'm also a cute girl in elementary school. We're too different. Big Sis is... Thank you, Ayaka. Why is your mouth so wide open? For some reason I can't say that it's because Big Sis is so pretty. I see. My pretty Big Sis Manaka. The kitchen is like a wide palace ballroom, and Big Sis is like a princess dancing around it and round in there, cooking lots and lots of food. She seems happy somehow. She seems to be enjoying herself, although I don't remember Mum's face. Surely I think that's what my mum must have looked like when she was alive. In the light of the sun flowing through the window, she's sparkling. Big Sis is truly pretty. Although it's been like this up until now, what happened to her? This morning in particular, she's pretty and radiant. It's written in a book that British people like codfish. Okay, that's just a fun little thing to read. Speaking of British, time to sip my tea. Good stuff. However, British people aren't confined to it either. As she said that, Big Sis smiled softly while basked in the morning sun. Like I thought, she's pretty. Her smiling face is cuter than a princess doll or one from any kind of picture book, and she's pretty above all else. Looking at Big Sis's apparently happy face like this, I wonder, when did it happen? A person who can do anything. My big sister. She's truly different from me, who can't even do studying, black magic, anything I make, arithmetic drills, black magic training, or this and that all well. She can do anything. Or it seems to be anything. Even pigeons, even cats. She wouldn't stand petrified at them like me. Big Sis who can do anything, perhaps by saying, I'm happy since you made it for me, or trying to have fun. She thinks I'm worthless. But it's like she's different. See, Big Sis seems like she's having so much fun. She's smiling. Oh, pretty. Here, have a taste, Ayaka? Okay. Is it okay with you? It's fine. Look, go, ah. Opening my lips as she's saying it, I bit into a piece of fried fish that she was holding out to me in her slender white fingers. I don't like fatty foods too much, but still. How is it? Delicious. It's truly delicious. Fatty foods, although I don't really like them. It was crunchy and fluffy and it didn't feel greasy at all. It's so good. Okay, it looks like the good luck charm in the sour cream was effective. Okay, if Ayaka is okay with it. Good luck charm? To make my cooking delicious. A secret good luck charm. It's more amazing than magic. At the table, Daddy, who was drinking coffee, started to choke and cough as he heard it. Before Big Sis and I could start yelling, Daddy muttered, "It's nothing." Maybe I think Daddy was shocked by Big Sis's words. Magic? Good luck charm? Even I can remember that. After all, the thing people call magic is real. Cute. Cute, okay. Manaka's color scheme really reminds me of Okita, right? Also, little Ayaka is so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Also, isn't her hair does her hair get darker when she gets older? I guess so, maybe, huh? Big old breakfast spread. Our that thing more amazing than magic. What? Daddy said it. He said there was only one thing more amazing than magic. That's right. That's why I used it. Big Sis, despite sounding so natural, I wonder what you're talking about. It was a face like that, dazzling while basking in the morning radiance. A voice that could be heard from lips that were the same color as cherry blossom petals. It's as if... It's truly like... the magic of love, see? Real magic. I, despite not knowing what kind of thing it is, think that it's true. Love? Ayaka, I wonder if you don't know about it yet. It's called the magic of love, of course. As she said it, Big Sis looked and whispered something to me. It's as if she was addressing someone behind me. It's more amazing than any kind of mystery that a magus uses. Was she speaking to Saber in spirit form behind her there? I wonder. Act 2. Yeah, we'll do 2 acts today, I feel. Right? The person reflected in the girl's eyes. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I was waiting for it, right? Here you go. Bon appetit, the girl said with her back to the radiance that was the morning incarnate, standing by the east window while showing off a table which had various dishes arranged on it, in a voice that was more lovelier than the songbird who was even chirping outside the residence, which was in some aspects even accompanied by her shy gestures. Well, was a pretty girl. With soft hair that was visibly transparent and pale, translucent colored eyes, she looked really pretty in her green dress, a single, radiant flower in bloom. That's right, he was describing the girl's figure in his mind. For example, if he was an elegant knight who was accustomed to handling ladies, then he would improvise by extolling the girl's beauty while he was still on the verge of giving praise, during the one time where he could offer his gratitude for the many dishes that were served to him. However, if anything, he wasn't experienced with the ladies. Thus, he was just gazing at the girl. Thank you, he briefly told her, loading his feelings of gratitude in it. Well... Despite showing some shy behavior, the girl was wearing a smile. Since I don't know your tastes, I ended up trying to make whatever came to my mind, although I might have made a bit too much of it. Oh, no. I appreciate your gratitude. You don't have to push yourself, just eat what you'd like. A voice which was shyly telling. That is, it was suddenly becoming smaller. It was about the moment when the girl's incomprehensible gaze quickly shifted from his figure to the table. If you eat it for me... A cheerfulness that was said to make all good fairies who were dancing and basking in the sun perspire. A largely blooming flower, which was wet with the morning dew. Can we not use that description, please? Thank you. That's... don't know about that. Each of their radiances were darkening. The fairies hide and the blooming flower closes over, rewinding back in time. Her eyes were shaking. The girl's expression sank. Oh, well then, With all due respect, in front of the mound of dishes which had been arranged on the table, he could now see himself finally coming back to his senses. Certainly there was probably too much of it for, say, a normal person's meal's worth. Egg dishes, bacon and eggs, scrambled eggs, poached eggs. Each of them were roughly enough for 6 people. Incidentally, the poached eggs were accompanied by toast. This was also for 6 people. Salad, green looking with green as its basic theme, it was also enough for 6 people. Meat dishes. As for the sausages, which were grilled together with thick white mushrooms, this was also for 6 people. Furthermore, there was 1 whole kidney pie, which had been made using mushrooms with meat and cow intestines as its ingredients. Perhaps it had just been baked. She just said to him that then after she'd cut it into 6 equal pieces, that she'd give him the very first piece. The milk porridge was also for 6 people. An item which had cod fillet and potatoes deep fried with oil in it was also in the pile. Dessert, which was plums served with sliced peaches, were also fitting in its own way. As for the cream and scones, which had been laid out after the meal, a considerable amount of it was placed on a cake stand. On the whole, there were dishes that were unfamiliar for him. Separately, there were just items which had names which had been taught to him by the girl and images attached to him. It's, not a problem. If it's this amount. Or it's not a problem if it's this amount. But a meal serves as a knight's vitality for when he appears on the battlefield. Though there is a lot of them, it is not something that will trouble me. Saying that, he smiled. Although it was a facial expression he made in order to relieve the girl, in reality, if it was this amount, then it was not an impossible argument. There was a certain truth in the matter that he expressed in words. Now that they were facing the battlefield, a knight needed a lot of vitality. Meat, potatoes, and alcohol. It's not like there was an inherent belief that those knights who established their courage had to consume just that. Of course, there were limits to every exception. All of the knights who gathered at the round table which arose in his mind wouldn't confine themselves to nodding to these words. In any case, at least he could say this without being at a loss with himself. It's not a lie. He was betting his sword and pride on it. He will never let himself tell a lie. A person with your given conduct will obtain it all, Manaka. Cute. What's that purple stuff? I don't know about that. Manaka Sajo. Sajo? I think it's just supposed to be Sajo. That was the girl's name. After a little while, breakfast began. He carried the food to his mouth as words, and when almost half the food had disappeared, the girl finally regained her original cheerfulness. Every time he told her the words, "It's good," the girl would become cheerful right before his eyes. The presence of fairies and flowers returned, and naturally a smile appeared on their mouths. On the girl as well as himself. And then, the girl told him with a huge smile on her face, if the flowers could speak our language, then it'd probably be a sound like this. It was a sound worthy enough for him to think so. If only his daughters who were living in the distant Avalon could sing like this. Avalon, home to fairies. I was gonna say, whoa, what do you mean he had kids? And then I thought very, very quickly about, King Arthur. That is surprising, though. King Arthur's daughters. That is a interesting thing, because we obviously think about, Mordred. But, there's more? Huh. Interesting. See the sour cream deep fried fish. I have confidence in that one. After all, very picky Ayaka told me that this fried food was delicious, so this must be the one, right? Yes, it has a particularly magnificent flavor. If you like it then that much, then I'm happy. The girl closed her eyes, seemingly completely happy. You see, this morning, nowadays, to be precise, I tried making an English-style breakfast from the 19th to 20th century, so I guess what I'm wondering is if the flavor is close to your homelands. Oh yes, it's delicious. Really? Yeah. Really, truly? Yes, my lady. Yes, my master. Okay, that's the ruby text down there. Interesting, okay. So, he uses my lady as my master, which makes sense. Your cooking is extremely delicious. Repeating his words, the girl then deepened her smile even more. I'm so glad. Tilting her head, her hair was swaying. He too was smiling a bit in response. Depressingly speaking, though, regarding the word England, he didn't feel like it was something he could get used to. However, the girl's feelings were being conveyed to him. That was enough. As a matter of fact, it was a delicious meal. The dishes known to him were of reasonable labor, so they probably varied in their steps. Perhaps they had a cultural decline over the long months and years, and may have also combined them with ones from foreign countries. He could feel this type of time difference in the food that he carried to his mouth. It was like he was yearning for something in there, but even so, he was grateful for the consideration. The girl didn't know what he desired, what he was feeling, what he thought about all this, or the truth, but he was accepting of the pure being. Without expressing even the slightest bit of nervousness about facing the battles, he just returned a smile towards the girl, who was talking while wearing an innocent expression that suited a girl her age. And then, "Hey, Saber?" Yes, what is it?" Renewed, she called out his name. So Saber went to the girl. This morning, there was one thing that I understood. Well, yeah, I definitely must have known from the start, but... The girl nodded. Yeah. You know, in essence, it's the same as cooking. Before he could ask, what is, the words were reverberating from her cherry blossom lips. Quietly, without changing her entire tone, in an extremely natural way. For example, in the way as a cup whose contents were spilling out as it were being turned over. The way we do things in the Holy Grail War. The Holy Grail War is, in a way, a conflict. Even for people like me, this kind of conflict would never be a subject for discussion. Originally, the right path for a magus is to offer their life to be a constant student who can surpass their generation. Even if a conflict occurs between society and an individual who's in the process of protecting their family, lineage, and their research, it is normally impossible to stop from becoming a subject of the conflict itself. However, there is an exception, the Holy Grail War. The number of wishes which the Holy Grail is able to grant is just one, against 7 masters, magi, who are participating in the Holy Grail War. 6 of them must be eliminated. So prepare yourself, for this is an unavoidable basis of the conflict, an extract from an old notebook. I understand that cooking, as well as the Holy Grail War, is the same as anything else. The girl's words continue, cheerfully, while maintaining the beauty of a large blooming flower without 1% of overcast. If it takes time, then it's better to use your head so that it doesn't take time. Although it takes time for stewed dishes to stew, blub blub, for a long time, wouldn't it be simply over and done with if you used a pressure cooker? Or even an electric mixer? Or even a microwave oven? I'm not an idiot. Ping! She raised her index finger. Her gesture was quite like a young child who had just realized something. No, it was probably so. Even to the young girl before his eyes, truly she had just probably come up with a good thing. During that time he could grasp it. The girl's innocence, the girl's purity. This morning's cooking and the Holy Grail War, to her, were roughly the same. Was it the all-around feeling of her youthfulness which comes from her inadequate experience? Or a manifestation of her innocence which wasn't able to grasp the rigorous conflict called the Holy Grail War? Or did her overwhelming natural gift mean him say such a thing? It's probably the latter. After all, she had been chosen as a master at such a young age. Besides, either way, it's the preparations, right? I think what's also important is that we make these preparations in advance for the sake of our goal. She continued her speech while receiving his gaze. Since we don't know how powerful the other servants are, I guess, it'll be more efficient to target the masters first. Speaking further, rather than targeting the master themselves, if that person has a weak point who is inferior in power, then it's much more efficient to target it. Continuing her speech, a weak point. If it's a typical Magus, then it's their family lineage itself. Their family. Their children. So, should we abduct their children? Or kill them? Until the girl had told him this, he kept his silence. Now, he had no choice but to open his lips. However, it wasn't to offer his tactical or strategic option to the Magi who was his master. It's just... Manaka. He couldn't bear it any longer. For the girl to acclimate to that without any pretension whatsoever. For the Holy Grail War. For the sake of killing each other. In order to completely kill all 6 masters and servants and masters, he already thought they weren't planning on choosing the means. That is, a matter of course for Magi who are trying to survive the Holy Grail War. Regardless of how it is glossed over, for the ones carrying it out is nothing but a conflict where they wager their lives. For the sake of their wishes, the Magi as well as the heroic spirits will devote their all in seeking victory, but even so, courage is needed to challenge someone to a fight. Rising from his chair, standing by that was slightly separated from the table, he spun his words. It was not his intention to preach about chivalry. It is probably not something that the girl of the distant age of reason could grasp herself. Perhaps you've gotten it already. He also couldn't make any forced words. Why? Because his master was none other than this girl. But I cannot allow someone unrelated to it to get wrapped up in this. These are young people, all the more so if they are people who lack power. He said quietly to the innocence beneath his eyes. No doubt, it was as if he was giving detailed instructions to the young child, so that at least this lovely girl wouldn't have to choose the path of a blood-smeared killer. However, but if it's for your sake, Saber? Her smile was unwavering. Even now it was thwarting his intentions to deliver his remonstrating words to her, for in there was an unchanging smile that was not so greatly different than flowers which were now wet with the morning dew, swaying in the gentle cool breeze. Her shining eyes were staring straight back at him. That's right. You mustn't get hurt. In a clash with your fellow servants, you, who are of first rank, I believe won't lose. But even so, if you get hurt while fighting, then I... While saying this, the girl put a hand to her chest. The chest of her green dress. Her delicate fingertips unfastening her buttons. I just couldn't bear it. Besides, exposing the chest area of her dress, her skin, which was white as snow, and the black pattern that was tattooed there became exposed. The seraphim, a master's degree of 7 single feathers. I don't want to use this on you. Ever. Brief words. He could barely sense the meaning that was included in them. Once it's a battle where he is clashing all out with his fellow servants naturally, he couldn't deny that a situation could arrive where he'd be compelled to use the enormous prana that was charged into this master's degree. So why was the girl avoiding it? Please pull that up. I'm fine. I don't need to see that. We know that's there. That's fine. The girl finally changes her expression to he who was asking her why with his gaze. His cheeks, while slightly dyed red, seemed sad, like a lady who was confessing her love. Because this binds me to you. I don't want to reduce it down to one stroke. Because for now, just this definitely binds me to you. Yes, the girl whispered. Master degrees, an angelic hierarchy. It is a key that controls the ultimate power which exterminates all obstacles. In the Holy Grail War, 7 Magi are bestowed with unparalleled weapons. 7 classes of heroic spirits. 1 class of spirit per magus who had acquired the rank of an angel. We refer to these as servants. A being that transcends magical mysteries. The most powerful of illusions that people can dream about. Even modern weapons that can burn a town to ashes could never keep up with them. Originally, it wasn't believed they could be employed as Magus-level mystery familiar, leaving their names somewhere in history. They are incarnations of great heroes who have established their legends. As the strongest, most unparalleled beings, it has become possible to summon and manifest them for the first time due to the enormous magical power brought about by the Holy Grail. Heroic spirits are powerful and unusual. In many cases, they achieve the form of a person, but they are essentially not human. Therefore, master degrees are carved onto a Magus's body. A fragment of the Holy Grail's power, they control even heroic spirits who are beings that transcend magecraft. They have a total of 3 strokes. In other words, they can compel a heroic spirit 3 times or can strengthen them. Without this, the Holy Grail War cannot come into existence. An excerpt from an old notebook. Efficient, you said. Again, he spoke those words. His memory is accurate. Yesterday, he was engraving into his mind the information about the other masters who had been anticipated at this current time, based on what he heard about from the Magi, who was that girl and her father. The noted mage family, the Reirokon family, the daughter of the current family head, who is regarded as one of the masters, is said to be of close age as this girl, and she is also an acquaintance. Beyond that, he didn't know what to think, but the girl had definitely said that she was like a friend. Arranging the information in his memory, he would carefully choose his words. As a person, he had to follow an honest path. As a person, he must show his people the way to his utopia. You said to target the master's child. I don't want to make you do something like kill a friend with your own hands. Oh, you're so kind, Saber. Manaka, but I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. People can make mistakes. However, you are wise. Even if you don't choose to make a mistake, you can certainly achieve your dream by obtaining the Holy Grail. Yep. Vaguely nodding. That girl is still smiling at him. If it's for your sake, I'll do anything. It couldn't reach her. It won't reach her. Although she had been able to hear his remonstrating words, a conversation isn't being established. Why is that? He was aware of the impatience that was inside his heart. Therefore, he rushed to a conclusion. A single definitive word spoken earlier. In other words, killing a person is not a good thing, Manaka. Why? Her words, her voice, her words, it gouged into his chest along with a huge shock. A blow by a huge steel hammer that could be swung on the battlefield, the fangs and claws of a dragon which rages, pierces the earth, and ripping apart the heavens, would make one think that it would make one think that it wouldn't even reach those, and it was a blade brought by words and expressions. But more than anything, the girl herself couldn't feel it as the blade, deeply, pierces the inside of his breast. However, still, he won't give up. A while ago, this girl was happily talking about the meal, about her younger sister. That's the case, and there's still hope. For example, weaving his words again, still, he won't give up. The morning hours I spent with you, your family, your dear father and younger sister, that is the same thing. Surely, even to the Reirokon master. Why do you say such things? Her smile. I've decided to give the Holy Grail to you. Her radiant eyes. I'll grant your wish, so that you can save Britain, accompanied by even her beauty. If it's for that purpose, a flower that's brilliantly in full bloom, then I can do anything. I'll do anything for you. It's just as this girl is faintly, softly smiling at him. Yeah, that's creepy. Yeah, she's creepy. She's scary. Right? She's scary. She is like the definition of cold and unfeeling. Right? And he's like, oh man, oh geez. She's infatuated. Infatuated rather. And that's not great. You know, his knight's honor probably won't want to do some of the things that she kind of wants to do, I bet. Well, on that note, we will call it here. Next time, we'll be moving on to Little Lady Act 3, where we will continue on with the story. I think an hour each is a good little reading. Thank you all for watching. I mean, so far it's all been, set up. And I did hear some people say, like, oh, it's out of order, right? Like, the novels are out of order, and so you should read them, you know, in the order. It's like, no, what? If this is volume 1, then it being out of order is the point. It's like playing Metal Gear Solid. You don't play them chronologically the first time. What are you, insane? The whole point is that you're supposed to go through it non-chronologically. It's fine. We read Strange Fake. Non-chronological and jumping around is fine, right? So thank you all for watching, guys. We'll see you next time for more chapters of Fate Prototype Fragments of Sky Silver. Ciao.